Hello. I wanted to talk about teaching your dog how to stay, and I also wanted to introduce some different concepts in with this video based around helping you to troubleshoot your own technique and the delivery of your technique when you're performing or you're doing a training session with your dog. Now, firstly, let's think about what the stay position looks like from your dog's point of view. Now, we can ask our dog to stay from most commonly a sit position or a drop position. We can also do that from a stand position with our dog standing. But in the training video that I'm going to show you of Marco and I, we're going to be working on the stay from a drop position on Marco's mat, one of Marco's mats. So the second thing is to work on one behaviour at a time, but that doesn't mean that we can't link behaviours together after our dog's learnt them and is performing them reliably in different situations. And so you'll see in the training video, or just the general training session that Marco and I had, you'll see that I ask Marco to go onto his mat and then ask him to sit, then go into a drop, and then we work on the stay position from there. Now, it's important to break down the steps of any exercise that you're wanting or behaviour that you're wanting to teach your dog into steps that are manageable and steps that make sense, not just from your point of view, but also your dog's point of view. And so when we think about the stay, we want our dog either in a sit or a drop or a stand position, but we want to be able to first work on our dog staying in one position when we're standing very close, and then working on building the distance away from our dog and asking our dog to hold that stay position until we then return to our dog and then bridge and then reward our dog. So it's a gradual process of increasing the distance of us moving away from our dog with our dog in a stay position. And you'll see a little bit of that in the video. Now, the other thing is, the really important thing is to record yourself. And I just recorded myself training with Marco after we hadn't done a training session for a while, and there was a lot of things that I picked up and that I'm going to talk through the video. But it's really interesting because recording yourself really does help you to understand where your technique might be deviating from the last time you trained with your dog. And because Marco and I haven't trained for a little while, then of course, I have to be mindful of how I'm delivering my technique according to Marco's personality and his demeanour and the way he learns in a training session. And so that's really, really interesting. And of course, every training session that you do with your dog is going to be absolutely unique to that specific training session at that point in time. And so you will never be able to completely and exactly repeat your technique, but it's important that you get it as close as possible and as precise as possible and as consistent as possible in every training session that you're doing. So let's have a look at the video with Marco and I, and I'm going to talk us through it. Okay, I've just pressed the record button, and this is just Marco and I training from start to finish. So offering a start cue for Marco, and I'm just asking him to go onto his mat. Now, the bridge should have come a little bit early, but that's quite bulky, that mat, and so I didn't set Marco up to be successful there. So that's another thing that you need to consider is, are you contributing to obstacles for your dog as well with the equipment you're using? And here we go. So I'm asking Marco to come onto his mat. I just held that treat in my hand so Marco would actually make contact with my hand and still continue to come onto the mat. Now I've asked for the sit, and we're going to go for a drop now. That's great, bridge and reward. And now we're going to practice our stay. So I'm standing in one position, bridging and rewarding. It's quite a close distance. Just changing direction there. But I'm not moving too much further away from Marco. And he's still very focused. Now I took another step back, and that was too much because Marco did break from that drop. So I should have not taken that second step backwards, and I should have just maintained the position. Just stepped a half a step back because Marco was successful at that earlier in the training session. Now I won't push him too far too fast. Just stepping back with both legs, bridging when I come back to my original position and rewarding Marco. Just changing direction, but still the same distance, because I don't want Marco to break from that position, and he's very successful here. Now it's 1.5 steps back and 1 to the side, coming back to my original position, bridge and then reward. Now Marco's broken again from the drop, but he's still in a sit position, and once again I've stepped back too far. So that means I have to not step back so far, because at this point in time Marco wasn't ready. Now Marco didn't perform the drop on that occasion, but I tried it again, and I could have had my fingers closer together. I was just letting him lick off the rest of the chicken. We're going to practice the stay in a crouch position. I'm closer to Marco there. The chicken pieces are a little bit long. And once again, from the same distance, just to the side. Marco's broken from the stay again. And bridge and reward. So you can see that although Marco looks pretty focused here, he was getting very excited with his facial expressions when I was doing that training session. So I'll leave it there with the training session, end on a high note for Marco. And it just so happens that he gets the rest of what was in the treat pouch. So that was just a general training session that I decided to just press record and just work on stay. So you can see there that when we're working on stay, the most important thing is to make sure that you're increasing your distance away from your dog in very small steps that make sense for your dog. Because when Marco broke from the stay, that was an indication to me that I had pushed him too far, too fast, and I should have bridged earlier and rewarded him to keep him in that stay position. So that's a really interesting little analysis of just a general training session, and it's really helpful if you do record yourself, because you will pick up these little things that maybe you have taken for granted when you've been training with your dog previously, and your technique might have deviated, or your timing of your bridge may not have been as precise and clear as it was previously when you were training with your dog. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll talk again soon.